Saxon's Calculus Lesson 5 is about the unit circle and graphing sinusoids. So I would like for you to study on page 38 and then on page 39 the unit circle, which is of course based on right triangles, and then I want you to see how they're unrolling it and matching out those points to create the sine curve. And then on 39, yes, 39, they're doing the same thing and mapping it to the cosine curve. Now, what I want you to remember is how this basic formula works when we're dealing with sinusoids. So we have our y equals, whatever number is here is the center line. Whatever number is directly in front of the word sine, cosine, tangent, etc. is the height. And then if I use the word sine in here, we are going to start in the center, and then we always have 4 sections for the 1 unit circle. If this is a positive, as we see here, the sine curve is going up first, and I did not label the high point and the low point, and unless there is a change in the center point and the height, then this is the basic one, and then down to the low point and return to the center. And that's, oops, got a little off there, but that's your basic sine curve. Now, if in this lesson they don't do the period shift, they only do the phase shift, and the period would apply to how many times does this curve apply for the circle by the time you get to 360. Well, in a normal one, that's 1 time. But if there was a number here in front of the parenthesis, it would be changing that amount, but they're not doing that in this lesson. They are, however, reminding you that you can have a theta minus a d, and of course that would mean that this little arrow up here would have a positive theta symbol, or a positive x symbol if this was an x. So if we have a minus d in the formula, what we're doing is we're shifting this starting dot over to, so if this was a negative 30 degrees, we would say we're shifting it over to positive 30 degrees and starting our circle here and doing the same curve, just shift it over a teeny little bit. If this was a plus 45 degrees, we would start it at negative 45 degrees. So center line, height, and then the shift of the start, and then right now we don't have the number in front. So then in part B, graphing sinusoids, that's where they kind of review this formula and show you some pictures of those on page 40, where they're changing the height, changing the center line numbers, and so forth. And then at the bottom of the page, we get to graph this example, y equals negative 3 plus 5 cosine of theta minus 45 degrees. So to graph that, we are going to start at positive 45, and then we know we have 4 sections. Oh, I forgot to review the basic cosine one. You know what? We're going to do that here when we graph this anyway. I did the regular sine one where it started in the center. For the cosine one, if it's positive, it starts above. If it's negative, it starts below. And if the sign has a negative here, it goes down first. Now that I've remembered to review all of that. So this one will end, since there's no number here to change it, at 360 plus the 45 shift, which means at 405 degrees. And then it said, oh, I need to label my center line. That's negative 3. And then my height is 5 above that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. And then that would be positive 2 and negative 8 when we label those. So center line negative 3, 5 above, 5 below, labeled. Cosine is not starting in the center, even though I put the dot there. It's positive, so it's starting at the high point of 2, and then it's going down, getting to the low point, back to the middle, and returning to the high point. I think that was about here. And then the graph then for cosine, and it keeps going, but we're only going to draw 1 unit of it. So there is example 1. Now example 2, graph y equals negative 3 minus 4 sine of x plus 45 degrees. Now, I probably should have clarified on this graph that this has a little arrow and it's positive theta. I just didn't put that in my graph when I did it, but it really should be there. And they're actually omitting the positive, whereas they insisted on putting it in there in the trig book. Anyway, to graph. Our center line is at -3. We are going up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, down 4. Let's label that. So that would be -7 and +1. 4 sections. Actually, let me do it from my -45 is my start. So if I label -45 degrees, I'm not sure how many sections fall here in the negatives and how many continue to fall over here in the positives. But I do know that it needs to end at 360 minus 45 because it started over there in the negatives. So 315 will be the ending spot. It's the word sine, and it's negative. So sine is going to start in the center, almost forgot where I shifted to, and then it's going to go down first because of that negative. And again, I don't know how many sections are over here until I stop and figure that out. So we're going to take our, well, each section is still worth 90 because it's the same basic unit circle. So it's a quick thing. I don't have to stop and figure it out. 90 degrees plus -45 will land me at +45 degrees here. That tells me that the other sections, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, the rest are in the positives. So I'm not going to label all of them, but I might label this middle one. So that would be +45. And then 90 plus that would be 135. And then mentally, I just want to check. I know that another double 90 is 180. Whoops, I think I calculated that wrong. Yes, I did. 315, and that is where we said it ended. All right, so then down first means I land here at the low point, center, high point, and return here. So the curve, and of course it continues on both directions, but that's about as far as we need to give it. Now, example 3. I may have to adjust. Okay. Graph y equals 2 minus 3 cosine of theta minus 30 degrees. Oh, and I just realized again, I forgot to label this one. Should have had the arrow with the X because they gave us X in the problem. All right, so now back over to graphing this one. Our center line is 2. Our height is 3. So 3 below that is -1. 3 above it is 5. Cosine is starting me either above or below because that's minus. I'll be starting below. Oh, I did it again. Forgot to record my shift. So this is starting at positive 30 degrees here at the low point. 4 sections. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrow so I can't forget it this time with the theta labeled. And then low point, I go ahead and figure out the degree here at the end. So 360 plus the extra 30 is 390 degrees for the ending spot. Here in the center, high point, midpoint, and return to the low point. So the curve, oops, missed a little bit there. Curve should look like so. 2 minus 3, just making sure I didn't miss anything there. Oh, and on this one, in the calculus book, apparently they're flipping it from either writing this symbol above or below. Doesn't really matter where you write it as long as it is in there somewhere.